On the pasuk ve'ela toldis Aaron and Moshe b'yom dibra Hashem es Moshe b'Har Sinai, these are the children of Aaron and Moshe on the day that Hashem spoke to Moshe in Har Sinai. Rashi first quotes the words ve'ela toldis Aaron and Moshe. Rashi says, but it doesn't say anything other than the children of Aaron. Explains Rashi, they're called the toldis Moshe, the children of Moshe, because he taught them Torah. This teaches us that anyone that teaches the child of his friend Torah, ma'ilol of akasav, the Torah counts it as if he gave birth to him. Mefarshim explain, why is this then said specifically regarding the children of Aaron, if of course Moshe taught Torah to all of Bnei Yisrael, and this is because Moshe Rabbeinu taught the Bnei Aaron specifically, individually, even before teaching the rest of the Yidden. This was something that he's not obligated to do, and therefore there's this special reward that Ma'ilol of Akasav, the Torah counts it as if he gave birth to them. Then, on the words B'yoyim Dibur Hashem es Moshe, on the day that Hashem spoke to Moshe, Rashi says, Nasu, they became his children because he taught them everything that he learned, Mipi Agvura, that he learned from Hashem. What is Rashi adding over here in this second Rashi to that which said already in the first Rashi? So Mefarshim explained that what was bothering Rashi was the continuation of the pasuk. The pasuk says, B'yoyim Dibur Hashem es Moshe. So it first says, these are the children of Aaron and Moshe, when on the day Hashem spoke to Moshe. But clearly they don't become the children of Aaron just on the day that Hashem is speaking to Moshe. And this is why Rashi is explaining that these words, B'yoyim Dibur Hashem es Moshe, is specifically coming to explain how they are the toldis Moshe, the children of Moshe. Why does the pasuk use the term B'yoyim on the day that Hashem spoke to Moshe, when of course Moshe would have learned with the children of Aaron not only on the day that Hashem spoke to him? So the Mefarshim explained this in two ways. Either the word B'yoyim would mean from the day Hashem spoke to Moshe, or it's coming to tell us that even if a person learns only on one day, he only learned one thing from someone, nevertheless it's already considered like his child. The Rebbe says that generally these are seemingly difficult tirutzim, but in addition to that, it's difficult to say that this is what Rashi had in mind, because first of all, why does it make any difference to emphasize when exactly the children of Aaron are becoming toldis Moshe? And more importantly, Moshe learned Torah with the Yidden even before Matan Torah. So why would the Bnei Aaron be considered the children of Moshe only starting from the day of Matan Torah, the day Hashem is speaking to Moshe Rabbeinu? Some other diyukim or questions of the wording of Rashi. In the first Rashi, it says, Ma'ilol of Akasav Ke'ilu Yodeh. Torah counts it. If you teach someone Torah, it's as if you gave birth to him. That means it's only as if. In other words, it's some sort of reward. That it's counted as if you gave birth to him. In the second Rashi, Rashi says, Nasu Elu HaToldeh, these actually became the children of Moshe. Why the difference? And why are we now saying they became his children, not only Ke'ilu Yodeh? Secondly, says the Rebbe, what's the arichus in Rashi's words that he taught them Masha Lomad Mipi Agvura, that which he learned from Hashem Mipi Agvura? Why doesn't he just say simply that which he taught them Torah? Says the Rebbe, the explanation is like this. Rashi couldn't have just said Kol HaMelamed as Ben Chaveri Torah Ma'ilol of Akasav Kilu Yoldoi, that just because you taught someone Torah, the Torah counts it as if he gave birth. Because the problem over here is, the pasuk says, Ve'ela toldis Aharonu Moshe, meaning to say, if the pasuk would only be speaking about the children of Moshe and say that because he taught them Torah, they're like his children, then we understand it being like a borrowed term that they are his children. But when we're putting it together with Aaron, Ve'ela toldis Aaron Moshe, putting them together, that sounds like they're Moshe's children just as much as they are Aaron's children. And the question is, how can we really compare? When they're Aaron's children, that means these are his children. Their very existence, their very mitzias was made by Aaron, came about because of Aaron. Whereas Moshe Rabbeinu is teaching them Torah, that's all very nice and well, but how could you say that they're mamash's children in the same way like Aaron? It's fine to say, Ma'ilol of Akasav Ke'ilu Yoldei, but why are they being put together? And this is why Rashi is saying that, so Rashi is understanding the words B'yoyim Dibur, that's why the pasuk says B'yoyim Dibur Hashem es Moshe. These words are coming to emphasize that Moshe Rabbeinu, the way he's learning and teaching the children of Aaron, is what Mashalamad Mipi Agvura. Since he learned it directly from Hashem, and Hashem is being referred to over here as this term Gvura, that means this learning had the power, the Gvura, to make such a complete transformation in the children of Aaron, as if creating their mitzias in spiritual sense, creating them in a new way, just like Aaron is making them in a physical way. They're coming from Aaron. Moshe Rabbeinu created them in a renewed way, and that's why they're called Toldis Moshe. How do we understand this? Says the Rebbe, as an introduction to Matan Torah, Hashem says to the Yidden that you are going to be my treasured nation from all the nations. You're going to be my Mamleches Koyanim V'Goy Kodesh. That means Matan Torah had made a fundamental transformation in the very existence of the Yidden. First, they're like all the nations, and through Matan Torah, they're now becoming Sgula Mikol Am and Mamleches Koyanim V'Goy Kodesh. Says the Rebbe, this is also why by Matan Torah Hashem appears to the Yidden in a way of gevura, with might, with power, with all the sounds, the thunder, the lightning, the fire, because he's coming over here to make a major transformation in the very existence of the Yidden. They hear the Aseres HaDibros, Mipi HaGevura. Says the Rebbe, since this idea of Yisam Lizgul, of being unique and different, and than the way you were before, is to do with Matan Torah, dependent on keeping the Torah, so therefore it's understood that that this idea, the koyach of Matan Torah, to cause this transformation in the Yid, to make him into a new existence, was invested, was given into the Torah. And that's what Rashi means by saying, Shalimdon, that he taught them, Hashalamad Mipi Agvura. Since the Torah he's teaching to the Bnei Aaron is what he learned Mipi Agvura, that means Moshe Rabbeinu heard it directly from Hashem, so it also has in a more revealed way that power, that Gvura of Matan Torah, to be able to make a complete transformation and a renewal in the existence of the children of Aaron, that they should be considered as if they were born by him, of course, Baruch Nias. Says the Rebbe, based on this, that the Ve'ela Toldos that we're saying that the children of Moshe, it's not only as if he gave birth to them, but it's similar to Toldos Aaron because they become his children because of this transformation. We could also understand why the pasuk over here is specifically emphasizing that it was beyond on the day that Hashem spoke to Moshe, not only from the day onwards, just like a physical birth. You don't say that this is something that keeps on repeating itself constantly. Rather, the child is born at one point, and then he's just growing. In a similar way, the spiritual Haylada, when we say they become his children, this happened on one day. On the day Hashem spoke to Moshe and he started teaching them, this is when they become his children. And afterwards, you could say, when you teach him, it's Ke'ilu Yodei, as if you're giving birth to him, but the actual birth, that it's mamish a child, that's on the day that he started teaching them. The question, however, now becomes, if we're speaking about Matan Torah, then all the Yidden heard from Hashem directly, Mipi Agvura, the Aseres HaDibros, including the Bnei Aaron. So why do we say that they're becoming Toldos Moshe? Because then Moshe Rabbeinu is then separately going to tell them over and teach them what he heard Mipi Agvura. This is why Rashi emphasizes the word Shalimdon, that he taught them what he learned from Hashem. That is, in order to really cause this Haylada, this birth, that means a real transformation like a new Metzius through Torah, it's not sufficient that you're just hearing the words of Torah, the fact that he hadn't heard the words of the Aseres HaDibros from Hashem, but the Torah has to be learned, has to be absorbed by the listener. And this is why the emphasis over here that Moshe Rabbeinu is teaching them that which he learned, not only that which he heard, but he's really giving it over to them, and in that way they become his Toldos. Says the Rebbe, we could seemingly ask, if we would say that Moshe Rabbeinu is teaching the Torah with Bnei Aaron, and therefore it's more like a reward, my law of Akosov, the Torah is counting it as if he gave birth to them. So then we would be able to understand why we're saying it specifically to Bnei Aaron, because as we said before, this was something that Moshe Rabbeinu didn't have to do. It wasn't an obligation. He's teaching them extra to what he taught the rest of the Yidden. But if we're saying that as a result of teaching Bnei Aaron what he learned from Hashem, therefore, it's not only Ma'ilol of Akosov, it's not only a reward, it's as if he actually gives birth to them. So then what difference does it make if he has to learn with them, if he's obligated to learn with them, like he learns with the rest of the Yidden, or he's doing an extra thing with Bnei Aaron? In other words, if practically Moshe Rabbeinu taught it to all the Yidden, then all of the Yidden should be considered like these children. So the Rebbe says the explanation is the fact that Torah causes this transformation, this birth in the person learning, that's because of the Torah being taught, not because of the teacher. And therefore, if a person is only learning Torah with somebody else because he's obligated, then what's causing the transformation by the Talmud? That's the Torah being learned. It can't attribute that to the teacher. But when Moshe Rabbeinu is learning, not because he has to teach them, he teaches all the Yidden, but when he's learning with them extra, lefnim mishuras hadin, on his own, that's when you could consider it that it's truly his oilada, he gave birth to them. Says the Rebbe, but if that's the case, then seemingly this should be applying only to Moshe Rabbeinu. He hears it directly from Hashem, and only on the day that he hears it from Hashem and starts teaching it. But then how can we learn from this that kol hamelamed is ben chaverei, anyone that teaches somebody else Torah, the Torah counts it as if you gave birth to him. And because the Torah is telling this to us about Moshe Rabbeinu, clearly there's some sort of lesson over here for all of us as well. Torah is not just telling us a story. And this is why Rashi says that yes, it's true. On the one hand, it's Moshe Rabbeinu himself, you would say that he mamish is as if it's you mamish counting that he gave birth to them. Because he heard it from Hashem and he taught it to them, as we said before. But nevertheless, from this we learn also that anyone that teaches a Yid Torah, it's Ki'ilu Yoldoi. Because ultimately, every single thing that you're teaching in Torah really was said, Mipi Agvura came from Hashem, even though this teacher didn't hear it directly from Hashem, and even though you might be teaching someone that knows something from before already, but on some level, it's also already Ki'ilu Yoldoi. The Rebbe says, based on this, we'll also understand, when the Mishnah says, when somebody says something called Oimer Dover B'Shem Oimrei, it says, Mevi Geula L'Oilam. You say something in the name of someone else as if bringing Geula. And the Rebbe explains this in a very interesting way. What does it mean when you're saying something else in the name of somebody else? It means you're saying in the name of your Rebbe, who's saying in the name of his Rebbe, all the way to Moshe Rabbeinu, who hears it from Hashem. In that way, when you're teaching the Torah, you are connecting with that power of Hashem, the way it's invested in the Torah. And therefore, there's this power of birth, and there's this power of Geula. We know Geula is an idea of birth. Again, because it's directly connecting with the way Moshe Rabbeinu heard it from Hashem, passed down now through all of these Talmidim and all of these generations. The Rebbe says, since Torah Semes says that when a person teaches somebody else Torah, it's as if he gave birth to him, that means that it's not just an external, superficial type of comparison, but there is in some sort of way really the idea of giving birth, even though, as we said before, that's mainly by Moshe Rabbeinu teaching Bnei Ari. And the Rebbe explains this based on the idea that we know that the punishment for Bittul Torah, the Pasuk says something very harsh, Torah is the opposite of life. And like when a Yid is not learning Torah, Torah is our life, it's like a fish going out of the water. Now, since we know what the Baal Shem Tov teaches, that the Eibishter renews the world every single moment, that means when a Yid is learning Torah, he's causing that it shouldn't be a matter of the opposite of life, but rather making sure that Hashem's Chayah should now be renewed and giving life to this person learning Torah in a renewed way. So when you're teaching somebody else Torah, the Torah counts it as if you gave birth to him, because every time you're teaching him, you are connecting this Yid with his source of Chayas, and therefore we count it Ki'ilu Yoldei as if you gave birth to him.